Today's exit interview is with Dale Hofert. Dale's one of the guys that was around when I started with the company. He's got an interesting story of Iowa roots, going to the Army, and then coming back and joining the company for 38 years. Dale just retired this spring, and he's still pitching in a day a week to help coach a team and help a team get a project to completion. But his story is really one of hard work and grit and determination and investing in people. I think you'll like it. Dale Hofert. Dale, tell us about your early years growing up. Where'd you grow up?
Yeah, so I grew up in Marshalltown, obviously, and I still live there now, but I grew up there. I went to school in all three grade school, middle school, and high school. Graduated from Marshalltown High School in 1974. I had a couple of brothers that are younger than me, and then 3 sisters, so there was 6 of us kids, and then my mother.
Where are you in the birth order then? Are you the oldest?
So I have 2 older sisters, and so I'm kind of in the middle. 2
Okay.
older sisters. I got 1 younger sister and 2 younger brothers. And we're all still alive and kicking, and my mother's still alive and kicking, so she lives in Marshalltown, and we keep a pretty close eye on her too. So
Wow, where's the furthest sibling away today?
So right now, my youngest brother Ed used to work for Story. Some of the ones that watch, some of the guys that watch this might remember Ed Hofert. He worked for Story for several years, but right now he lives in Maine, and he's got his own construction business, just employing himself and a few people. So a lot of drywall and a lot of carpentry he does. So.
Okay.
Yep.
How many family reunions then do you guys have? Every year, every other year?
So usually about every 5 years, and kind of odd that you'd ask that because we just had one the month of June, and so a lot of us got together over in Montour, Iowa. And so I spent a lot of years growing up over in Montour because a lot of my aunts and uncles and cousins lived over there. So when I was growing up, probably between the ages of 6 and 15, I would spend a lot of my summers over there, so
Sure.
Summers and weekends with my cousins, and so it was kind of a pleasure to go back and just see the community, and a lot of my cousins still live there that I grew up with over there. So yeah.
How about your folks then? What did they do when you were growing up?
Like I said, my mother pretty much raised us. My father worked in a company called Gray Iron Foundation over in Marshalltown, and he passed away when I was about 5 years old, so about 1960. So then my mother, kind of took over, and she had to support us all, and she had a couple of jobs at various restaurants in Marshalltown, both doing some cooking and some waitressing and stuff like that.
Oh, darn.
So, yeah. So she had a rough go of it for a little while with six kids, but we had a good childhood. I mean, we never really wanted for a whole lot. So.
Yeah. So when you were growing up, did you play the tuba in the band? Were you in drama, orchestra, basketball, anything?
Not much of that. I was into like camping and fishing and things like that growing up. Did a lot of camping and did a lot of sports and Little League and stuff like that. Like I said, mostly in Montour with my cousins and stuff like that around there. So a lot of river fishing and just some baseball leagues and stuff. So.
Got it.
Yep.
Got it. All right. So you walk out of Marshalltown High with that diploma. The world is in front of you. What do you do with that?
Joined the Army.
Okay.
Yep, I joined the Army, went right away to Fort Polk, Louisiana, and through my basic training, moved to Colorado Springs for my main tour of duty, and it's actually Fort Carson. And so I was in like a mortar platoon, so we spent a lot of time downrange just blowing stuff up. They had a lot of tanks and jeeps down there that we'd blow up and downrange, and just had a really good time doing that.
So were you good at that?
I was good at that, yeah.
Okay.
I was promoted to corporal and squad leader, so I had my own squad to do that. And we were mechanized, so that means we were on a tank-mounted 81 millimeter mortar, so I really enjoyed shooting those big guns. And then after that, so I stayed out in Colorado Springs. I got My first job out, I did like some landscaping and stuff like that. Just I didn't want to sit around, so I got a job right away doing some landscaping there, and did that for about a year. And then let's see, after that, I got went to work for a kind of a bar restaurant as a bartender, and eventually became a manager there. Corner Pockets of America. I don't know if you've ever heard of those. A billiards hall.
Yeah, well, we had a corner pocket here in town for a while. I doubt it was affiliated. But.
So I managed one of those in Security, Colorado, which was a suburb of Colorado Springs. So I did that for quite a few years, probably maybe 4 years. And then during that employment, I met a good friend of mine, and he recommended construction. Said he could get me into the Ironworkers Union down there, so that's what I ended up doing. I ended up applying for that and got accepted. And
so what year was that roughly?
That would have been probably 1980.
Okay.
79, 80 area.
Okay.
And so then went through my schooling there and got my journeyman card, and then seems like the work, that was, like early 80s. They ran out of work there. There wasn't a whole lot of construction there going on. And so I stayed out there for a little while, went back to my fallback, bartending and stuff. And that just wasn't cutting it, because by then I had a small family, a son. And so at that time, we packed up and moved back to Marshalltown here and started searching for a construction job. And found one with Story Construction.
And isn't it amazing to think that in the Denver, Colorado Springs market, that it ran out of work?
Yep.
Compared to today's environment, it's hard to fathom.
And so while I was out there, I think Gilbert Johnson. I worked for G.E. Johnson, and I think you've met him before and have talked to him.
I don't know that I talked to him, but I talked to one of their presidents 15 years ago, maybe.
Yep, and so that's who I worked for in the construction industry out in Colorado Springs. Yep.
Okay. All right, so you come back, and so how'd you find Story, or how did Story find you?
So I found Story Construction. Like I said, I graduated from Marshalltown High School there, and all of a sudden Marshalltown High School decided they were going to build a new auditorium there. Mm-hmm. And Rob Greenwood was the assistant superintendent, and Wayne Dobson was the superintendent. And once they started the footings, I went out there and applied for a job as an ironworker erector. Was pretty much hired like on the spot, and so that's how my career started with Story.
Did you tell them that you knew how to blow stuff up, so they better hire you?
I did not do that.
Okay, all right.
We didn't even talk about that. So.
Yeah, I bet. So that was 82, 83?
That would have been about 84, yeah.
Okay. I believe 84. All right, so you worked on that job, and then...
So I worked on that job, and then I think after that project, Wayne laid me off rather than, I don't know, I mean, we didn't do a lot of transferring then, but Wayne laid me off, and then I kind of kept in touch with Rob Greenwood, and I think he called me and told me about this project over at the one on the highway out here, Green Hills.
Okay.
That was starting up. So I went over and visited with Donnie Paris over there and Rob, and kind of got hired for that project. So after that, I've been with Story pretty much ever since.
I remember one of my first work experiences here at Story was doing the Residence on the Hill project up at University in Northern Iowa.
Yep.
And you led a significant steel erection effort on that job. Yep. Probably a dozen guys, maybe, something like that?
Oh, at least that, yeah. There was a ton of welding on that job, if you remember right, welding all the bearing tubes onto the walls, onto the bearing walls and stuff.
All the bar joists and deck.
Pretty interesting project we got. We started doing a lot of panelization on that job, if you remember right, assembling all the trusses, roof trusses together and decking them on the ground, and then flying them up with tandem cranes, two picks, and it was just a fun job.
Yep.
A lot of thought went into that.
So you started out doing work, then you started out leading crews, then you went to leading crews, then you went to leading projects. So do you recall some of those milestones along the way?
I mean, I could think back and kind of think how that went, yeah, but I think when I really started running the projects, I guess, I mean, I can definitely remember transitioning from working on a crew to leading the crew, and I can remember those projects. I think as far as the superintendent role, I was working in Atumwa there at the packing plant when we were doing a lot of work down there. And then, of course, I don't know if you remember, they had that explosion on Super Bowl Sunday and blew up a significant portion of their plant. And at that time, we just needed a lot of help down there, and I just transitioned into a superintendent. We were doing so many projects there, we needed quite a few supervisors there. So kind of transitioned into a superintendent role there, and then, after that, I went up to the Cedar Falls at the Performing Arts there, and I was played a more significant superintendent role there.
Yeah, when I came back to Story in the '99, I remember coming up to see that job and see the work we had going on campus. And of course, as an iron worker, you just heights are just not a thing for you. And you had me up on the grating on top of the stage in the fly space. And you said, "Don't look down," as you saw my knees knocking and everything else.
I do remember that.
Yeah, I bet you do.
That was a long ways up there.
It was. Oh, buddy. Oh, buddy.
Yeah, so you remember taking that stairwell all the way up there, climbing all them stairs. Yeah.
So what have been some of the as you look back on your career, some of the projects that are most memorable, most interesting? Just what are your memories of that?
Yeah, so you can imagine in 38 years I did a lot of projects for sure, and they've all got their unique experiences. But I think some of my favorite ones were obviously the performing arts, and that was just a fun project given the size of it and just all the unique aspects of it.
Yep.
So that one would have been a fun one, and then Green Hills was really fun, just mostly because of the crew that I worked with there. Like Rob Greenwood was the carpenter foreman, Rob and Craig Elliott and Kenny Lent and myself, and we just had a lot of guys there that knew how to have fun. Larry Matthews was our crane operator. It goes back to like Howard Williams was with us. So Rod Peterson and Rana, and we just had a really good crew over there. So that was one of the funnest projects I've ever experienced with Story. So yeah, Rob would remember that project, I'm sure, and it was a kind of a long-term project. So we really got to know each other on that project. So yeah.
So you've given a real history lesson in the company of Story. So who are some of the people that have made investments in you, or people that you looked up to and helped you to shape your career?
Mm-hmm. So again, I would say, being with this company for so long and working with so many individuals, you really get to learn a lot from a lot of different people. And you may not realize you're learning things at that time, but looking back, you just think of all the people that you did learn things from, and I guess as far as shaping me into a superintendent, I guess I really tried to model myself after like Donnie Paris, and tried to be a fair guy with the men, and also Jim Sodders. So those were the two that I spent a lot of time working with out in the field. Seemed like once I got on their crews, I never really worked with too many other superintendents. So I guess those were the guys that I learned a lot from as far as what I wanted to, how I wanted to model myself as a superintendent.
Right. Yeah. On the flip side of the equation, you've been doing this long enough where you've invested in a lot of young people.
Yes.
Just, you don't need to name names, Brian Weber, but you can just sort of talk about what it feels like and how you go about the process of investing in young people.
When you're on a CM project, especially, I know you don't have a very big crew there. You have usually a couple of guys, so that really gives you the opportunity to invest in those 2 or 3 guys you have on your project. And like you mentioned, Brian Weber's name and Josh Hoover, and there's been some others that you really get. I mean, from the start of every day, you get to work with those guys throughout the day and explain to them why you're doing certain things on a daily basis, and you really get to know each other, and they get to know you personally. So
Yep.
that's, and there's been others on the GC delivery projects, when I was actually working out in the field, like Larry Cool, I'm sure you remember him, and
do.
some of the others, Dan Rethmeyer, and who I had trained to become iron workers. But like I said, as a CM, you get to focus more on a daily basis on those guys, and they get to see how you conduct yourself in meetings and in communicating with the other contractors, the other owners and design teams. So
Again, you've seen a lot of game film. Who are some of the designers and owners that come to mind? Like, boy, that was really terrific, or boy, I really enjoyed that. The relational side of things, really.
So you're probably aware of the owners and the design teams that I didn't like working with, especially one of the more recent ones.
Yep,
so we won't talk about them. But
you were unbashful. I got it.
Yeah. So, but I've really enjoyed the Bondurant School District. I have really enjoyed working with the owners and the design team down there, SVPA. I enjoyed Baxter as well with the district reps down there. I mean, they were just great people to work with. They're part of the team. So definitely those two projects, I really enjoyed working with them, FEH and SVPA, the design teams on those.
Yep. You've been here through our transition to our lean methodology, our construction production 2.0 system, and that really is a platform for you to impart a lot of, help people see what you see, and then you can see what they see. How have you seen that shape maybe the development of just, it doesn't matter whether it's owners, design team members, subcontractors, our people, how have you seen that shape the process?
When I think the first time I used that system was probably Valley View, and that was kind of a challenging project anyway, but I don't think at that time that was the very first that was the first project that you rolled it out on, that it was rolled out on me. So I never got to, I don't think the district or the owners or the design team got to experience that much, but some of the contractors did. A lot of the contractors did. They questioned it, whether it was going to work and stuff like that. But since then, Mike, I've worked a lot with those same contractors, and the majority of them really like the system. They think it's got a lot of good points. I've had some of the district reps sit in on the meetings. I've invited them in, and they've enjoyed it. They see the value in it because they see the crews, and they're communicating together. And yeah, you can go out into the field and there's a couple of crews communicating together, but when you bring them all in together and everybody has input on what's going to be going on a daily basis, that's really made a big difference.
Yep. So tell us about your plans for retirement. How are you spending your days now? Between the pedicures and the haircuts,
Yeah.
What else can you fit in?
You've noticed.
Yeah.
Never thought you would have noticed that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I never made a lot of big plans toward retirement. I just thought I was just going to take it as it comes, So since I've retired, like I told you when I came in here, I've been busier than I probably was when I was working full time. But I had some projects that my wife already had lined out for me. And so I've been working on those, and I've really been spending a lot of time with my grandchildren, going to their ball games and taking them to the stock car races. I'm fortunate enough to live over in Marshtown right by the stock car track, so we can walk over there on Friday nights and go to the races, and my granddaughters really enjoy that, so I've been doing some of that. And then working part-time, go down and help Josh and Brian out on the project as well. But like I said, today I was down in southern Iowa at one of my granddaughter's ball games down there, so I've been spending a lot of time doing that.
So how many grandkids?
I have a total of 13 grandkids between my wife and I. They're not all local, but a lot of them are local, so we get to spend about half of them live around the area. So
That brings up a memory for me at your retirement party.
Yep.
You introduced your whole family,
Yep, big family.
in front of 150 people,
Yep.
and that was courageous.
Yep.
So my mom is one of 13 children. There are 3 sets of twins. My mom is one of them. I know I have cousins that I have met maybe once or twice in my life. So if I needed to do a roll call like that was scary, but you pulled it off.
Yep, and those are my nieces and nephews and brothers and sisters. So those are kind of immediate family. So I come from a huge family, like I said.
So as you imagine young people today coming up trying to figure out what should I do? I walk out of Marshalltown High with my diploma, whether it's in construction or not. But what advice, what wisdom would you give somebody? Hey, think about these things.
Yeah, I mean, I just think when you're going out to enter into the career field, or into the job industry, you just got to go in with a positive attitude that whatever it is you're going to do, you're going to work hard at it, and you're going to do your very best, and then you're going to stick with it long enough to see if you like it or not. And if you don't like it, I certainly wouldn't spend my whole life doing that. I would find something that you're interested in, that you like to go to work every day. And that might mean switching jobs a few times, but definitely find something that you really like doing, because you're going to spend a lot of time doing that.
Amen. Amen. So I haven't asked about your family.
I have 3 sons, one who recently passed, as you're aware of, and
Yep.
then my middle son, he lives in Omaha, Nebraska, and he's got his wife and two kids, and he is a project manager for Luter Construction over
Really?
in Omaha. Yep. And then my oldest son, Dylan, he retired from the Air Force a year and a half ago and relocated back here to Swan, Iowa. So I get to spend,
Where is Swan?
south and east of Runnels.
Okay.
Yep. So that's whose daughter I went to her
Got it.
game today and sat and watched her game with him and his wife. So, and then they both went back to work. And
Yeah. So how often do you get to Omaha?
a couple of times a year. Yep.
So is your son at the College World Series right now?
I think he was, yeah, but I don't know if he is right now.
Yeah, there's been some pretty epic baseball the last few days.
Yeah.
Huh.
And then my wife has 2 sons and a daughter also that we're pretty close with also. So her oldest son, he works for Capon and Brown in Marshalltown as an HVAC tech.
Okay.
And then her youngest son, Tyler, he's got an interesting job. Like we were talking before, he'd do something that you really like. So he did a lot of projects, or a lot of jobs, and never really cared for them. He ultimately ended up moving up to the Wisconsin area, and he got a job building stills, vats and stuff like that. Vessels, I guess you call them.
Yep.
And so now that his aunt owns a business up there, and so now that's what he does. He travels all over the United States assembling stills. And
So a lot in West Virginia and for
Yeah.
moonshiners.
Well,
He's
I
probably
don't know.
mainline to that show.
That's what it's for, though. That's what distills are for, is for liquor and stuff.
yeah, liquor and wine and stuff
Yeah.
like that. Yeah, and he's been doing that for now about 3 years, 4 years, and he's really happy doing that. So,
So how long has your son been at Leader?
probably about, I think he's going on 2 to 3 years now.
Okay.
He worked for a masonry outfit prior to that over in Omaha, but I can't think of their name right now. But as an estimator.
Because I've met their president.
Oh,
His name is escaping me at one of the YPO construction industry roundtables. But have they been in Omaha a long time?
yeah, they've been in Omaha a long time. Yep. And then his wife is she's the senior accountant for Drake Williams Steel. So she's got her real good job. She's been there a long time. She's part owner and stuff. So
Cool.
and she gets to do a lot of traveling too. They've got offices in Denver and I think California someplace, so she gets to go there and do their audits and stuff like that, and takes the family. And they have a lot of vacation time. I see they're in Hawaii a lot and Florida a lot. And they're all over the place all the time. All the time. They're always posting about their vacations and stuff. So.
Very unassuming Dale. He talks a lot about details and things and projects that he's really in the middle of, but when he talks about himself and his career and things like that, there's not a lot of words to express from him the impact that he has on the people that he works with and the owners that he serves. It's really a pleasure to have had the chance to work with Dale, and we look forward to hearing more and more from him in his retirement. One of the good ones, Dale Hofert.